Welcome back everybody, Todd here. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to go ahead and continue on with this motorcycle build here on Laura's. She's got a new 2024 Honda NX500 light adventure bike. She traded in the CRF 300L and went to this bike, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we kind of get into the build. But today we're out here in the shop and we're going to go ahead and add the center stand. And when I was looking at different options to buy that center stand for the NX500, of course this is such a new bike, very little is out there for the NX. It's the CB500X reinvented, redone by Honda, and they've spun it out as the NX500 in 2024. A lot of the CBX500 parts are going to fit on this bike, as it turns out. We went ahead and made several purchases right from Honda through our dealership, thinking that, man, I didn't want to take a chance of buying a CB500X part and not having it fit. By the time you horse around with all of that, pay the extra money. Plus, I was looking at these center stands on Amazon, and they're around 89 to 100 bucks that way. And of course, you could buy the OEM part, and even at a discounted rate, you know, you're going to be paying 30, 40 bucks more at a minimum. And that's what I did. But I want to start out by showing you the quality of the OEM part that we got, because don't be fooled into thinking by buying these OEM parts right from Honda or whomever that you're going to get such a better quality part. Let's go over to the bench and let's start this build out by taking a closer look at this OEM part. Okay, we're going to be battling with autofocus, but stay with me here. You can start right out and see, look at all these speckles of rust. This is bare metal, big scratch. There's rust all over this. Look at the welds. I mean, the welds are okay, but to say that there's anything kind of more of a polished look to it, it's not. And, you know, I was doing a lot of close-ups on the products that were out there on Amazon as I really review this, you know, without droning on and on about this. I just want you to know that you're not getting anything better with the OEM. Okay, so let's go over to the NX500. Let me show you the bike real quick, and then Laura's going to jump in here and she's going to install this center stand. She loves wrenching on her own bike, and I appreciate that. I feel the same way, and I know most of you guys out there do too. So, but let's start out, do a quick lap around the bike, and then we'll jump into the install. Here's the 2024 NX500, and as I said, it's a light adventure bike. And you know, the big differences obviously between a dual sport and moving towards the adventure bike is you start looking at the ability to do more highway miles and touring. And obviously this thing has a windshield on it, it has a fairing on it, and the fairing's not so crazy that you can't take this thing off-road. It you know, it has a lot of the other technology in it. It has ABS brakes as an example. It has traction control. That's a big thing if you're going to be logging a lot of miles, riding pavement in rain, those kinds of things. So yeah, the bike is just set up better to do more touring on it. And that's really what Laura wants. You know, we did a lot of riding with the dual sport, and just a bunch of single track off-road trail stuff is not really what we want to do. When you start looking at leaving the pavement and doing dirt roads and maybe some logging roads, that's the extent of what we want to do off-road, and this thing will do that. It's set up for that, you know. So that's why we went this direction. One of the things that I'll show you on this bike is that you've got your exhaust system, it runs right straight underneath the bike. So you can't just use a scissor lift center stand or a motorcycle jack stand to just jack this thing up. With the exhaust system running down there, it's not an option. So probably the first mod you guys are going to want to do to this bike, if you buy it, is to put a center stand on it. That way you can get the bike centered up, secured while you're working on it. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to go ahead and start with that center stand. So in a few minutes we'll jump into it. Here's the directions, and the very first thing you're going to do is we're going to take that, and it's got to go in that hole right there. So you got to apply some dish soap or something to it. So here we go. Laura is going to say hi to the people.
Hi guys.
So Laura's going to go ahead and get her dish soap on there and just swirl it around, and we're going to go ahead and try to get this in there. You know it's going to take a few minutes, but we'll start out and see. Maybe it'd be miraculously pop right in. Yeah, right. So it's going to take some work. We're going to be back as soon as we got it in there. We've got it in. It's difficult, but it took less than 5 minutes and more than 2 probably. And kind of the key is to work it around, use a screwdriver to kind of jab it down in and just work it. So not a big deal, you just have to work at it. So there you go. Step 1 is complete. Now we're moving on to step 2. So the next step in this thing, if you really care, is to take that, which is that, and stick it through those holes. And you're going to grease it up first. So we're going to go ahead and apply a little bit of grease to that thing. Then we're pretty much ready to take it over to the bike. So we'll meet you over at the bike. And she's got the stand, she's going to stick it under there. We've greased up that pin. And I'm going to come around the other side and see if I can see anything. You can kind of see the bracket there. And you just got to hold that up. Yeah. Line it up and then run the pin through. Alright, we'll be back when she's pinned it. And just like that, she's through. I don't know, you should be able to see the other side of it there. That pin just sticks through. And when you grease that thing up, obviously you're going to get grease on your hands. So once you got it in, my advice is go take the grease off your hands. Okay, next step is to get on the other side there and put the one bolt in that goes in that holds that thing in. So there's the next step, is to take that bolt right there, stick it in there. So that's what she's working on now. Okay, the kickstand is installed. And no problem, we got the bolt on there. We put some Loctite on it, so it's all snugged up. It gives you a torque spec in there, so go ahead and use the torque spec if you want. Otherwise, just use common sense. With Loctite on there, I don't think you have anything to worry about. And then here's our next step. We're gonna have to get this spring on there, and this is where most people have a big challenge. The small part right here goes on top, that hooks on the bike. Then this comes down and hooks on the kickstand right there. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use a beefy screwdriver. We've got 2 of them here to work with. So yeah, this will be the next fun challenge. So once this is on, it's done. Let's go over to the bike and get her done. Okay, we got it on there, but let me give you a tip. First of all, we use this screwdriver. You get that in here. You want to raise this up to about there. It'd be best if you have somebody help you to hold it down about like that. You can run this, hook the screwdriver on it, run it down there, and then you're going to have to loop it around. And it's almost unavoidable, but I ended up bending the bracket here a little bit, but at least it bent in towards the bike. And so you just got to work it. It'll go on, but that's the key. Phillips head screwdriver, run it down. First screwdriver we used was too big, used the next one, but we also used one that was too small and it started to bend the shaft, so play around with size on this thing, but it'll go. Center stand's in place, obviously comes down, comes right back up, looking good. Let's put the bike on the center stand now. All right, just like that, we're up on the center stand. We got the bike up on the center stand. Laura was able to pull that up there all by herself, not a problem. So it's just a matter of technique. If you haven't been used to putting a bike on a center stand, obviously you push down with your foot and pull up with your hands on the back there. Really, you can kind of leave the front end alone. It's all about grabbing it right there by the center stand. So now that that bike is up off the ground, we can go on and keep putting parts on it. As I mentioned in another video, all those parts right there are for that motorcycle. So if you like this kind of content, if you enjoy watching, motorcycle content, particularly on this Honda NX500, she's going to be continuing to build this. We've got parts to go on it. We've got hand guards to get the wind off. Obviously, I just mentioned we're going to be doing a skid plate on it and just a host of other things. So, hey, thanks a lot for tagging along. I really appreciate it. And do me a favor and hit that like button. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And then we'll see you back here on the next video in this series of building out this NX500.